Okay, we have a thumbs up. Thank you for joining us at our virtual emergency board meeting. It is May 12th, 2021, 5:30 p.m. We are starting at 5:33. In accordance with an act to implement provisions necessary to the health, welfare, and safety of the citizens of Maine in response to the COVID-19 public health emergency, as enacted to read Section G11 MRSA, Section 403A, public proceedings through remote access during a declaration of a state of emergency to COVID-19 and for 30 days following the termination of that state of emergency. The special board meeting, this emergency board meeting, will be held through Google Meet. The meeting will be live streamed and available for viewing at www.msad11.org. Members of the public wishing to make a comment are invited to do so by sending an email to schoolboard@msad11.org. That is school, capital S, board, capital B, at msad11.org. Call to order pursuant to subsection 403A of MRSA, Maine Revised Statutes Annotated. We will now confirm that each member of the MSAD11 school board can hear and be heard. We will do this by calling the roll. Members present are asked to say yay. We ask all members to listen and report any audio difficulties when the roll is complete. Introduction of board members. Pat, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Becky Bless.
Yay.
Veronica Babcock. Veronica told us that she was going to be absent this evening. Nancy Fortier Brown.
Says that she has left the meeting. She may have lost.
Okay. We may have lost connection because she was
Right.
here. I'll come back to her.
Yeah.
Teresa Garrett.
Yay. Here.
Matthew Lillybridge.
Yay.
Jim Lothridge. Nicole Medor.
Yay.
Matthew Marshall.
Yay.
Cullen McGuff.
Yay.
Patrick Saucier.
Yay.
Alyssa Tracy.
Yay.
Tony Veet.
Yay.
Quinton Martin. He is going to join us late, but he should be calling in soon. And Gwen Boldick Ignasiak.
Yay.
And Nancy Fortier Brown.
Yay.
Great. That's it, Becky.
Thank you. Public comments for items on the agenda?
Sure. Before we do that, I do want to note that also involved in this meeting, we have Chad Kempton, the Gardner Area High School principal. We have Angela Hardy, who is also here as our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, and I'm Pat Hopkins, the Superintendent of Schools. So we have received a number of communications, emails from members of the public, too many to read them all. So what I thought I would do is provide you with a written list of all the names of the people that we heard from, a general summary of what those communications included. Then we received a number of communications from students, and those I thought I would read publicly, okay? So we received communications from Kristen Martin, Chad and Jennifer Hebert, Denise Rendernick, Melissa, I'm sorry if I butcher her last name, Makola, or Melissa Brown, Amanda Wade, Rona Brown, and Joanna Ashford. Then we have a number of emails, as I said, also from students, but I just thought I would read the students. So the first one, hello, my name is Kyla Driscoll, and I am a graduating senior from the class of 2021. I am writing to express my appreciation to the school board for recognizing the academic achievements of my fellow students. I am sure that this task, among many others during this time, was not easy given the hardships everyone has had to endure this past year. In a recent English class of mine, there was a lot of confusion around what the new graduation recognition system would entail for us. Mr. Kempton came into our class to discuss the changes taking place and to quell the rumors that had been surfacing. As someone who would qualify for recognition under the new Latin honor system, I will graduate with cum laude honors. I am very excited at the possibility of having a special stroll to commemorate my hard work and achievements. However, there were many students who were upset about the recognition for the top 10 students being taken away. While I was aware that this decision has been in the works for quite some time now, other students did not realize this. So for them, it felt like a very sudden decision. I know that the school district, including the school board members, have been working very hard this past year to keep us safe, while also trying to maintain as normal of an education as possible. While we all navigated these unprecedented times, we have all faced an abundance of hardships this year. Some students lost a loved one, others battled COVID-19 themselves, or had a loved one who did, and others battled unreliable internet while trying to maintain consistent grades. This past year was difficult for everyone. While I think the change of how our graduating seniors are recognized for their hard work and accomplishments is a great one, I don't think it is an appropriate time to do so. We have already lost many traditional events and celebrations that we have looked forward to since we were little. Please don't add the recognition of the top 10 to that total. Instead of completely changing to the Latin honor system this year, or going back to the top 10 recognitions, I would like to propose honoring both the Latin honors recipients and the top 10. This could be done in numerous ways, but I would like to suggest an idea of my own. The Latin honors recipients could still receive the stoles that Mr. Kempton is in the process of ordering, while the students in the top 10 could receive a medal that commemorates their achievements, giving both groups a visible recognition when they walk across the stage to receive their hard-earned diploma. Traditionally, high schools across the country recognize the top 10 students by publishing them in the paper. I believe we can still do that by listing the top 10 first, then recognizing the Latin honor system recipients afterwards. It is not a perfect solution by any means, but these are unprecedented times. I believe it would help keep things as normal as possible while also moving forward to a system that honors all of our graduates for their hard work and achievements. Thank you for your time and consideration. Mr. Kempton and the school board, we, referring to the top 10 as a whole, are writing to you today with the intent of keeping the top 10 recognition in place. When we first entered the school as freshmen, we worked hard and with dedication, striving for perfection with the promise that this tireless work would pay off in the form of a proper top 10 recognition. Top 10 is one of the only things that most of us have contended for, struggling yet persevering through high school, knowing that soon we would be able to walk across the stage with white and orange stoles, making it known that we worked hard and earned our spot at the top of the class. In the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, our senior year has been completely sacrificed. Abiding by the masking restrictions and social distancing restraints, we have missed out on countless experiences, and for most, including us, this important recognition has been our salvation, something that was promised to us that we had worked towards for years, and we thought was the one thing COVID couldn't rip away from us. Being the top of the class, the top 10, we were determined to make this recognition stay firmly in place for us. The decision to shift away from top 10 recognition into solely the Latin system was a decision the school board voted on and approved. However, parents of the top 10 and the students themselves were never informed of the change. When an important decision such as this one is made, the students who are directly impacted by the shift should be consulted. Our opinion should matter. We understand that this shift has been in the works for a year and a half, but our senior class was never informed of the change until a week ago. Respectfully, of course, we are frustrated at the lack of communication and the presence of misinformation. As a whole, the current top 10's intent is to be formally recognized at graduation, as has been done with previous graduation classes, and that we have expected to be done for us over the past 4 years. We would like the honors bestowed upon others in previous years. These include the embroidered white and orange stoles, signifying medals, recognition in the local newspaper. We have collected statements from the top 10 rankings and members of the community. Please take our words into consideration. I agree with the school board that those who are graduating with high honors should be recognized for their hard work. Absolutely. However, I feel that it is unfair to abruptly, without warning, take away a recognition system that some students, like myself, have worked towards for 4 years. We have persevered through so much these 4 years, struggling personally and as a community. This small recognition is all we ask in return for our dedication to this school and for the effort we have put in for our class rank. Thank you for your time, and please consider letting us feel accomplished in what has been less than an ideal high school experience. That's Kayla Bailey. I agree with the school board. The new rank recognition under the Latin system would be beneficial for those who have earned high honor as well as honors. However, this idea of new ranking system was not brought to the students directly. As a freshman, the class of 2021 was promised that if we worked hard and tried our very best to reach the top 10, that we would be recognized for those as those before us. While I understand that there is no way of knowing the struggles ahead of us during the pandemic, we were all under the impression that the top 10 was a goal that was set in stone for us. Please reconsider starting this new system another year, or perhaps recognizing the 10 of us as per usual, while also acknowledging high honor roll students. Thank you for your time. Caitlin Minati, sorry, I hope that I pronounced that correctly. Personally, I have been striving for top 10 since the first class day I took part in, playing in the band back in 8th grade. Each year I have pushed myself to my limits and admittedly my breaking points, bending over backwards to end up where I am right now. When I was a sophomore, not only was I doing my absolute best to pass each class with flying colors, I also lost my grandmother to ovarian cancer. Losing her took a severe blow to my mental health, but I found a way to work around the grief and still keep pace with everyone else. We have all struggled as students during COVID and before that as well. But somehow each of my classmates who were in the top 10 managed to push through this unconventional year. That in and of itself is a massive accomplishment. It is understandable that the school board wishes to acknowledge and recognize a broader scope of fantastic hard-working students. But wouldn't it make a great deal more sense to implement the Latin system for graduation recognition to an incoming freshman class in which every student has a clean slate to work off of versus senior class whose track record is nearly written in stone? I believe full-heartedly that before making this decision, the school board should have conferred with each student impacted by it. Please do not make each of us feel as if all of our hard work has been a waste of 4 years. Thank you, Emily Brown. The goal of reaching the top 10 in my class has been one of main motivations to strive for excellence during my years at the high school. No matter what issues were taking place, mental, physical, environmental, etc., the promise of reward was part of what kept me in line. I wholeheartedly believe that the honors students should be recognized and congratulated for their efforts. However, I think us 10 should be recognized too. Every student has worked hard, but we especially have given our everything to earn our rank. At the risk of sounding selfish, we to be our best selves. Taking this away will diminish the motivation of the students who follow our class. I've spent countless hours to make it to where I am today, and now with 4 weeks until graduation, I'm informed that my hard work was insignificant in your eyes. All I ask is that you take our opinions, our family opinions, and the communities into consideration. Madeline Hebert. I believe that we should all be recognized and celebrated for the work we've done over the past 4 years, and that there should be a compromise reached that honors both Latin system and the top 10. This would allow for all to be recognized who are deserving of such and would eliminate any harsh feelings from one side or the other. Cassidy Collins. Earning and securing my place in the top 10 over the last 4 years of school has been one of my largest goals throughout the entirety of my high school career. My spot was earned through countless hours of hard work, through sleepless nights, and juggling a social life, family life, work, volunteering, sports, and music. Over the course of this year, my peers and I have lost a plethora of opportunities that come with a normal senior year. This includes being in school full-time all year, will only be full-time for roughly a month, football season, regular school dances, homecoming rallies, live audiences at theater shows, school concerts, Lit Fest, etc. Every 10th, 100th, and even thousandth of a point in the top 10 students' GPA come through supreme effort and dedication through adversity. Please do not take away another thing that we have worked so hard for, especially because truly it doesn't have to happen that way. I wouldn't individually be affected if you decide to switch to the Latin honor system in the future. I understand wanting to honor other students who also work hard for their grades. However, if my fellow classmates ranked 3 through 10 are not recognized after all of their effort, I believe it to be unjust, especially because we were led to believe through our high school careers that until now that we would receive recognition for our hard work and sacrifice. Thank you for your time and consideration, Quentin Martin. My biggest question is, why can't we do both? What is preventing us from having both the Latin system and top 10 being recognized? Why are you deciding to implement this change for our grade and not the incoming freshmen? We have always been the guinea pigs for school changes, and it's never been fair. Most of the time, I have just complained but moved on. However, I cannot this time. The students in the top 10 have worked their butts off to be where they are now, and to have the rug pulled out from beneath us only 3 weeks before graduation is absurd. I hate playing the COVID card, but this senior year, we have had so many different things taken away from us. At least let us have this one thing that we can strive for our entire high school career. All right, I missed something here. Let's see, sorry, there's something missing. That isn't a smooth transition, but I'll keep reading it. It says, not reaching the top is a part of life, losing a game by a point, coming in second, etc. Simply because someone may have fallen just short shouldn't mean that those who reach their dream or goal should be punished. We've earned this, we are promised this. Please do not take it away, especially so close to graduation. Thank you for your time and your efforts, Stacia Staples. I most certainly agree that switching over to the Latin system is a great idea, but for future years. Those who are currently in the high school, especially the seniors who are so close to graduation, have been promised the rewards that come with being in the top 10 throughout our high school career. For me, my position in the top 10 shows that despite all the various struggles that I have faced during my 4 years, that I've been able to rise out of it and accomplish something great, something that has been a goal of mine since I was very young. The fact that this decision was not vocalized to us or the parents until last week is incredibly disheartening. We do not disagree with the concept of the removal of the top 10 as a whole. We are bothered by the late implementation and lack of communication between the administration and the student themselves. Removing the top 10 this late into the year feels like taking all of our individual accomplishments and averaging them. I really hope that you reconsider this decision to eliminate the top 10 and still recognize our class using the Latin system, as well as honoring the original traditions of the top 10. Thank you for your time and your consideration, Mackenzie Wade. Like other students in the top 10, I believe the Latin honor system is an improvement to future graduation ceremonies. Students other than the top 10 also put in a tremendous amount of effort to succeed in school, and I think that they should be rewarded as such. However, the fact is that the top 10 of the senior class was not informed about the change until a month before graduation. This changes things completely. If we had learned about this when the school board was discussing it, I'm sure that the reception of this change would have been a lot more positive, or at the very least, less surprised. I understand that things would be very hard to change this late in the year, but like my classmates, I am hoping for a compromise. Thank you for your time, Margaret Barron. I, for one, do not agree with how the school board went about changing the recognition to the Latin honor system. I do believe that honor students should be recognized for their hard work and dedication throughout these tough years. However, the top 10 of our class should still be recognized separately, since that is their impression we were under throughout the entire high school career. James Rendernick. I actually think that somehow I switched James Rendernick and Stacia Staples, so I apologize for that. Then all of those are your top 10, and those were their comments. I'm sorry that was lengthy, but I think it's really important for you to hear directly what the students said. Of the other communications that you received, generally, the comments that were made had to do with notification of the change was not provided in a timely manner. This type of change should occur as students enter high school, so they know the expectations from the start. Students entered high school with a goal and an expectation that there was a top 10. It's unfair to change that now, that the pandemic took a lot away from the students. Please don't take away the top 10. A request to change the policy to reinstate the top 10 during the graduation process from this point forward, and a general support for the Latin honor system and support of the board's intent to support all students who achieve a certain honor, but not to do it this year for all the reasons previously stated. Those are the communications that the board has received.
Thank you. So the next thing on the agenda is to discuss policy IKF. I have written I've written something to read to you so that I remain on point and am brief in my statement. I want to just help everyone understand how we find ourselves here today. In May of 2019, our high school administrator came to the curriculum committee asking for a change in how we recognized our highest achieving students at graduation. The tradition had been for many years to celebrate only the top 10 students of the class. Many of the students are separated from that 10 by fractions of a point. By adopting the Latin honor system, it included many more students and took out some of the competitive edges that sometimes split friendships and could perhaps allow for unkind behaviors. After listening to the compelling request, the curriculum committee voted to accept and support his recommendation and bring it to the full board for consideration and a vote. That was done, and it was voted unanimously into policy. The intention of this decision by the curriculum committee and by the high school administration was including more high school and high achieving students, not a trophy for everyone, but rather a system of recognition that is used across the country and is known at the next academic level. Fast forward to May 7th. I received a call from a parent who was extremely upset that we had made a decision and requested that we change it. I indicated that I was on my way to an appointment and requested a couple of hours to do some research and that I would get back to her. In the meantime, I forwarded her the minutes from the meeting where the decision was made. In speaking with the superintendent, she asked me for some time to consider the issue to see if a solution could be reached that would be best not only for the 10 affected students, but for all of the students involved. By late Friday, the situation had exploded into a social media frenzy of accusations, insults, name calling of the board for not caring about our students and for thoughtlessly making changes to tradition. And it continued throughout the weekend. As soon as we were made aware, we began in a timely manner to try and find a solution. A decision was made more than a year ago. Once the board votes on a policy, the implementation is the responsibility of administrators. The board moves on and doesn't think about the implementation unless there's an issue. The administration and the superintendent do not have the authority to simply override a policy. Any adjustments or adaptations require the board's involvement, which is why the administration could not simply act to remedy this situation. The policy change was made. The policy change was added to the handbook, and that was the last of it. We've been buried in enormous amounts of work and change throughout the pandemic, and the high school administration simply forgot to communicate earlier in the year. They have been under an enormous amount of stress and pressure. It was a mistake that the board never would have known if a parent had not made a phone call. We just needed a minute to find a solution because we have to follow our own rules and our own policies. There are always students that are high achieving, and that is wonderful. Broadening the net makes us all shine. We must also remember that there are vast numbers of students across the district that will never be in the top 10 or the Latin honor system, but instead are nestled neatly in the middle. And there are students that require extra resources and support. These are all our students. And it is with that lens that I make decisions when I vote, when I speak, and when I lead. All of our students matter. Our hope is that every child is important to someone, and my belief is that all children need to be celebrated. There's not enough of that, and this has been a very difficult time. None of this was intended to hurt anyone. And with that, yesterday, the curriculum committee met and they made a decision. And Matt, I'm going to ask for you to carry it forward from here and help the rest of the board who was not in attendance yesterday and the public that is watching to understand what comes next.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to, I will say that we met yesterday. We had some great discussion. The suggestion that that was made was that we honor both the Latin honor system as well as the top 10. I specifically asked a question if the top 10 were still going to be considered to be in the newspaper, which is typically what we do, and the answer was yes. If we were to vote and approve the change, and I think that it was overwhelmingly apparent that the majority, including Mr. Kempton, the majority of the curriculum committee, thought that there was a change required, and it worked. We voted to send it to the board tonight in the form of a emergency school board meeting, and we think it's that important to do that. We don't typically do a lot of emergency school board meetings, so in order for us to hold an emergency school board meeting, we have to have, for the most part, a unanimous consent from most of the board members. So we're here tonight, and I think we're prepared to vote. I would recommend, like I did last night at the onset of the committee, curriculum committee meeting, that we honor both. Mr. Kempton took over after I turned it over to him. He believes that that's prudent as well. And so I would say that, Becky, at this point, I don't know whether we just need to have a motion. The motion that I made last night was to honor both top 10, both the Latin honor system forever until it's changed for whatever reason, if it ever will be, moving forward, because I think more recognition is better than, limited or just recognizing one or the other. So we have a lot of kids that have worked very hard that aren't in the top 10, that are that should be recognized in the Latin honor system, because they've done a lot of hard work too. And we've bounced back and forth significantly over the last year and a half, the last 2 school years, between virtual and in person. Some kids excel at one, and some kids don't excel at the other. And I think to honor both is the right thing to do. And I think moving forward, we should do it every year. So that's, Becky, if that's what you're looking for, that's what I've got. Thank
you, Matt. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I I don't want to prolong this any longer than we need to, but I don't want board members to leave with questions. So if we have some board members who have questions, I see a couple of hands up. Patrick, I see yours. So, and I'm going to just go in by law. Yes, Pat.
Okay, first, Matt made a motion. So before we can move into discussion, there really should be a second.
Yep. Could we have a second to Matt's motion?
I'll take and second that. Pat,
Thank you, Patrick. Okay, great.
sorry, Patrick. Pat's.
You're also Pat, but the other Pat. So a motion by Matt and a second by Pat. And then Pat, your hand is up, then Alyssa, and then Matthew Lillibridge.
I think Alyssa was first. I'm not 100% sure, but she can go if she wants.
Okay, that's fine. I was just going across my line what I can see. Alyssa, that's fine. Go ahead.
Sure. Sorry, my lighting is not wonderful tonight. Just wanted, Becky, thank you for reading what you did. I just wanted to clarify, because I did the same research I think you mentioned. It was last year, right? 2020 when this happened, not 19. I just wanted to.
So the conversation first came up in 2019, and then it was
Gotcha.
brought to the curriculum coordinator, the curriculum in 2020.
Yes,
So the
very
conversation
good.
began in 2019.
Very good. Okay. And yes, so I started in November of 19, so that makes sense. So I just wanted to reiterate, because it was a theme throughout the comments and everything, and I think I agree with the motion and the vote, and I think we should do that. I think what I found, it was just some inconsistencies in the documentation, and not everyone is in the documents and the policies every day. We know that, we are, because we're in there. And I recall we had a conversation that the top 10 was a practice and it wasn't in policy. So I'm very grateful that now it will be in policy. So if you go Google top 10, it'll be in the policy, it'll be clear, it'll be in the handbook. I certainly wasn't privy to all of the other things going back and forth, but obviously it was a passionate topic. I'm glad we're addressing it quickly and we're making the right decision, I feel like, and the students were very professional in their response and feedback to the board. I just wanted to make that clear that while, minutes and the meetings and communications in committees are things that people can look at, not everyone does that. It is helpful that now we have recordings so we can go look at meetings, and that's what I did. I went back to the May 2020 meeting and I watched it, and then I went to the documentation and I just sort of followed it from there. So I just would say, continue to do that. I'm always here to help someone do that. I try to go to the data and find out what we're doing, but I wholeheartedly approve that we'll now have in the policy the whole statement as it should be. So thank you for that.
That's exactly what I did, Alyssa. I went back to the meeting, and it was easy to do. If you just go to the district website, it's all that information is there. And partly what I want people to understand, the public to understand, whoever's watching this, is just that the board does not get involved at the building level. So, we're the policy setters. We are the ones who respond to the need. A need is brought, we respond, and that's the end of it for us. We don't go in to make sure anybody's doing their work. We don't make sure they're following the policies. We just believe that that's what they're doing because that's what they do. And unless we are made aware that there's an issue, we just have no idea. So it's not that we made a policy and paid no attention. It's not we did our thing, and then that gets put to rest. Pat,
right
here.
I know that there's a lot of communications that happen. That's probably the most activity this past week that my email account has had for the school board. But I will say to the students that reached out, though I wasn't privy to all the other comments, I know that Mr. Kempton and Pat and yourself had a wide spectrum of communications that we weren't privy to. I would like to say to the students that I'm actually really impressed with them reaching out. This is how a constitutional republic is supposed to be. You reach out to your elected officials in a tactful, respectful manner and voice your opinion. And then it's our job tonight to find a solution. Sometimes we're able to make a lot of people happy, and other times we're going to upset a lot of people. Right. But I just want to really emphasize to the students that reached out, kudos to you guys and girls that reached out to us in a tactful, respectful manner. I am extremely proud of the way that they handled this because it could have been a lot worse. So I just wanted to say that. So
Thanks, Pat. Patrick. Matthew Lillibridge, and then Tony.
Excuse me. I agree with Pat. The students did a good job, but I don't have as much rosy things to say with regards to the whole issue in general. First of all, the issue was a communication error. It wasn't done out of malice or ill intent, but the decision was made by the school board on the recommendation of the Gardner High School principal. The fact that it was never articulated to the student body and to the parents is the big issue. And now we're dealing with the mess on the hand. As has already been articulated by Becky a few times here, the school board is the creator of the policy, not the executors of that specific policy or rules that are set in place. That happens at the individual building level. But one of my issues is that, for lack of a better word, if we were setting a bad precedent, the school board makes a decision for the benefits of all the students in the district, not just the top 10. The school board members are the elected representatives of the town, and they chose to act in the best interest of all students. Again, not just the top 10. The statements from the parents and the students were touching, and they were, as Pat already said, they were well written. But they're not the only kids who worked hard. Every student mentioned how hard they worked. And I don't doubt this because obviously they worked hard to get into the top 10, but they weren't the only ones. Of the 100+ students who are graduating, seniors who are going to graduate from Gardner High School, I'm sure there are other people who worked hard. There could be a student or students who worked 10 times as hard as some of their peers. They're just not blessed with the same genetic gifts to get, a 90+ grade point average. They might not even make the the Latin honors. They don't get an award. So who's their voice? Their parents aren't the ones, writing letters and stuff like that. But again, I come back to the same backtracking precedent that we're settling on here. Last year, we voted to make vaccines mandatory for kids to come to schools. If enough parents make a fuss and write letters and, get on social media, we're going to change that policy too, because the volume gets a little bit too loud. I just don't like the idea of us. I understand Pat's argument. Yeah, it's supposed to be speak your mind and all that other stuff, but is it just to dial down the social media yelling that we're doing this? That's my issue with it. Thanks.
Thank you, Matt. And I appreciate that. And the social media yelling has been really difficult and a lot of slinging and blaming, and it's unfortunate. And I don't have any idea how much the public knows about the work that has been done this year by our superintendent and her staff, and even this board for that matter, and the hundreds and thousands of hours that have been spent sitting at a computer trying to figure out what's in the best interest of our kids. Maybe they know, maybe they don't. I don't know. But you're right, it could get dialed down. And I, like Patrick, have tremendous respect for the way the students have presented themselves. And I just think that's really great. And you're right, there's a whole bunch of kiddos that are nestled in the middle that don't get recognized for anything. Barely, they just don't, because they're in the middle. And all of these kids, as I said, they're all our kids, and we're proud of every single one of them, no matter where they rest, no matter where they land, they belong. And that's the most important lesson we can bestow upon our students is that you speak up for yourself, but mostly that you belong, and you belong here. And we care about what happens to you, deeply, deeply care what happens to you. So with that said, I'm going to let Tony speak, and then Teresa.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Becky. Let's see. I appreciate the thoughtfulness of what the other board members are saying, and definitely echo the appreciation and my respect to the students and the families that that wrote letters. I agree that it was articulate and well thought out and respectful, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the energy that is there for these families, for these students that have worked so hard. and I tend to want to go, I will go along with this. I think it's a good idea to respect the community's interests and needs. I want to be mindful, yeah, that we're sort of changing our mind here. I do very much want to reflect on that we didn't make this maliciously or with the idea that this was going to cause grief for people. That wasn't our goal. The goal was to pursue that more equitable, more equality in how we do that recognition process, to make sure that we recognize the efforts that all students have put in. I do want to be mindful that that there are really fine, there can be really fine distinctions between who's in the top 10 and who's not. And I really would like to find a way to get back to that original idea of where do we put this down. I think that comes from the place of, again, recognizing the work of all students in a way that honors that internal drive. My what I see from that top 10 version, or is that external drive, and that really works for some students. What part of what I think we're trying to instill here is that internal drive to excel. And I want to make sure that we continue to seek that in particular, because as students graduate and go forth into the world, that is going to be foundational to all their future work. I guess I sort of have a general question of how much colleges look at top 10 versus Latin honors. So if anybody has a quick response for me on that, does one weigh one way or the other, or is it more just the GPA piece? And I do want to, just leave again on the note of thank you for the articulate, respectful, multi-tiered approach to letting us know. I really appreciate the people are paying attention, and people are willing to step out and make their voices heard, and that is a powerful driver of our democracy and of this. One of the things I really like about this process is that we have this local government, and we, I am trying to do my best. I know we are all trying to do our best here in representing the needs of the community and the best interests of the students here. So just the one question about what colleges look at, and thank you for your time.
Chad, do you happen to know what colleges look at? Or Pat, do you happen to know off the top of your head?
I would defer to Chad. He is more involved in the day-to-day connections with the universities than I am.
Becky, the answer to that would be it depends on the institution. There are some out there that look at class rank, some filter it because they are taking kids or applicants in from all around the world. And what is the norm here in the United States is different in Europe and Southeast Asia and all across the world. So they have a multitude of things to consider when they're accepting a student. Some base it on standardized tests, and they put a heavy weight on that, and some don't. And that's locally. If you were to look at Colby, Bates, and Bowdoin, who are three of our top institutions, they all have priorities that are unique to themselves as to what they're looking for in an acceptance. So there's no really one size fits all to an acceptance.
And that, that reminds me of some work that that I've been involved with at the national level, just about the relevance, the changing relevance of the SAT and the ACT, and becoming more current, because we're a much more global education system, as you say about as you said about around the world, just the different ways that things happen around the world and education is achieved around the world. So
I will say one example that we advocated for one of our seniors, I think it was 2 years ago, that was denied entrance into Northeastern. And Northeastern has below a 15% acceptance rate, And so when I was able to get a hold of one of their admissions counselors, the person told me that they had received over 50,000 applications for entrance into that university. And so it is a very pointed look at somebody's application, their application letter, and they don't look at anything twice. So if you can imagine looking at 50,000 applications for what I believe was like 2,000 spots, it's pretty impressive as to what goes on behind the scenes.
And the things that we take for granted in our local world, that we're just sure it must be this way. But yeah, 50,000 applicants for 2,000 spots. That's an impressive amount of work. You got a job done. Teresa, you had your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to say congratulations to all of the seniors. Congratulations to the top 10. You should be very proud of yourselves, even though things have changed for you. And also, I want to apologize that it wasn't communicated to you until this late date. I can understand why you would be upset. I would be. Your letters were amazing, and I just want to wish you all the best of luck. God bless you.
Tony, Teresa, your hand is up now. Do you have something else? Okay, all right. Anybody else have anything they'd like to add? My dog has something he'd like to add. Matthew?
Yeah, I would just like to thank the students as well, not to beleaguer a point, but you know, they were very articulate. They weren't accusatory, and you know, it's a good lesson learned here for everybody. You know, you don't tend to get people to come to your side and think like you think, or agree with your stance on anything when you are accusatory. It does nothing but put up a barrier and makes the person that you're trying to convince to think like you. Hey, I don't have to listen to you. And frankly, we got some correspondence from others that were very accusatory, and I have thick skin, just like many other board members. I don't take it personal, but we have a process, and the process worked, and this is an example of that. And I just want to thank all of those folks that sent emails, and the students, and my fellow board members, understanding what I think we needed to do here this evening. And I think we need to move on. And as I said, if the students that wrote letters approach situations like this in the future the way they did this one, they'll be very successful in convincing people to think like they do. So congratulations, and I hope you all do very well.
Thank you, Matt. Yes, Colin?
Thanks. I think I saw all of the correspondence that came in through email. I just wanted to double check to be sure. Was there any correspondence from anyone opposed to restoring the top 10 along with the honor system?
Not that I saw or received, no.
Thank you. Quentin, if you don't mind me asking you, what's the sentiment of the student body? Is everyone generally in favor of this restoring it?
Well, also I have slight bias because I'm a member of the top 10, so obviously I would like that recognition personally. But I'm also really glad that we're going in the direction of also recognizing the Latin honor system, because I agree that it's really important to recognize students that work just as hard as anyone in the top 10 as they do, and still have wonderful, amazing grades. And so they do also deserve to be recognized. But I am glad for myself and for people in the top 10 and for people who strive for goals like that can also be something worth pursuing. So yeah, I would say at least for people that are in the top 10 and for people that push themselves for goals like that, I would say the consensus is good. Thank you for everybody for being so professional and so accommodating and so inclusive. I really appreciate it. I'm glad to be a part of the community that I am. So.
Thank you, Quentin. Peregrine, is there anything that you'd like to add from the student body perspective? Sorry to put you on the spot. You don't need to if you have nothing to add.
Maybe not.
Okay. Thanks very much. I just wanted to also say I appreciate Matt speaking up too. I think, man, it's a pandemic year, but also there's an implicit social contract for the students when they enter high school. They know what they're aiming for. So I think this is the right move. And if in the future years another board group wants to re-examine that, they should, but maybe with an eye toward a 4-year window, not landing it in the same year.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. I'll say that in the long time that I've served on the board, that our communication is improving all the time. It's not perfect. It's never perfect. Life isn't perfect. However, with the way that technology has grown and expanded, our capacity to do things more quickly, has shifted and changed. And I'm just glad that we're able to do these kinds of things to be able to communicate, and to pull our group together to do this work in a timely manner so that it's in the best interest of all the kids. I'd like to add that in the future, when something like this comes up, ask the question. Just ask a question and ask a question with the belief that we have the best of intentions in mind when we make a policy. We never do anything that's trying to hurt anyone. We're here for kids, and we're doing the best we can. Even outside a pandemic, we're doing the best that we can, and our best shifts from day to day, depending on how it started. And I would just encourage people to always feel free to ask the question. Ask me a question. Email me, text me, call me. I will do whatever I can as quickly as I possibly can, and communicate with the superintendent and the rest of the board so that everyone is part of the conversation. We can only fix what we know about, and we can't always fix it, but we're going to do the best we can because the kids are why we're here. So we have a motion and a second. Would anyone object to voting? All right, Pat, would you please call the roll?
Becky Fless,
Yes.
Nancy Fortier-Brown,
Yes.
Teresa Garrett,
Yay.
Matthew Lillybridge,
Nay.
Jim Lothridge, Nicole Madore,
Yay.
Matthew Marshall,
Yay.
Cullen McGuff,
Yay.
Patrick Saucier,
Yay.
Alyssa Tracy,
Yay.
Tony Veet,
Yay.
Quentin Martin,
Yay.
Gwen Boldick Ignatiak.
Yay. I have a question.
Sure.
I was wondering if the top 10 recognition would just be this year, or would it continue throughout the rest of the high school years?
The motion is from this point forward, so it will be built into the policy, Gwen, that it will be both the Latin honor system those students will be recognized, as well as top 10.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, that passes.
Perfect. Thank you all for your input, for your time, and we can adjourn.
Great. That's 6:27. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.